Hey, how y'all doing? Thanks for tuning in to Motivational Life Global. I'm your host, Mike. And today we'll be discussing domestic abuse, domestic violence. This is something that occurs often. And it's not just during the holidays, even though during the holidays it probably hits a little harder. Just because the holiday season is a season of love, and abuse is no sign of love. It's not a sign of love. And when you're abused, you don't feel loved. And so I just think that domestic violence and abuse is something that occurs so often that we don't realize it because it's not something that you hear in music. Even in your most violent rap songs and lyrics, you do not hear about domestic abuse. You never hear of anyone bragging about how they beat up their mate or the person that they're in a relationship with. So the domestic violence and abuse is something that's swept under the rug, so to speak. A lot of times the victims don't speak out enough. A lot of times they don't have the support that they need. Before I forget about it, I feel like maybe we need to create something like a Big Brother program for victims of domestic violence, for like women to have, like they have the Big Brothers for the kids, or some women are being abused because they don't have a male in their immediate family or reach who is able to support them or show any type of support through this situation. And so we might need a program like for Big Brothers who can step in and check in on or tap in with women or females who are being abused and just see how they're doing, how they're faring out through life and through their relationships, so that they know that they have someone who's around to support them. Because many times the abuser, the victimizer, is only doing this because the female and the victim don't have a male protector around. They don't have a big brother or an older sibling or a father who's around, or an uncle or a cousin or a friend, period, who will step in and say, hey, you can't beat or abuse my female such and such. And so a lot of times a female can fare out much better when she has a male around or in her life who is known to this person, whomever she may choose to deal with, that there is a male in her life who is around to protect her if needed. And so, and another thing is that a lot of times men females often deal with domestic abusers thinking that this person can be rehabilitated. And sometimes that is the case, but a female needs to be able to understand the difference between someone who has a mental illness and someone who can be rehabilitated. A lot of times females are dealing with an individual who has a mental illness, because to beat on someone and to abuse someone, to bully someone is a mental illness. When you physically beat someone that you have to look at, and then you turn around and try to convince this person that you love them, that's a mental illness. But on the flip side, there's a mental illness with the female who will allow an adult to abuse her physically and continue to do this in front of her kids, and allow an individual to apologize and keep this person in her life. That's a mental illness as well. Both sides are damaged. Okay, so rehabilitation, I would only say, is for someone who's in a marriage. If you're just dealing with somebody or dating somebody, or you're just in a long-term relationship, I don't think that that's something that you should try to rehabilitate. A marriage is, when there's an abuse in marriage, you can kind of gauge that off, is this something that we can fix with counseling? It doesn't have to be necessarily marriage counseling. It could just be counseling of any sort, and then meet in the middle at marriage counseling. But you have to be able to gauge, is this something that we can fix with counseling? Or is this something that this is an illness that this person needs to deal with on their own, in their own time, and that this is a situation that I need to vacate? So there are two sides. There's the individual, because we, from a young age, don't agree with bullying. From a young age, no one has agreed with anyone putting their hands on them since elementary school. There's been a price to pay, whether it's with the principal, detention. So there's never been a time in life when we've allowed anyone to beat on us, not to mention it hurts. I'm pretty sure it hurts to get punched in the face or smacked around in the face, or pushed, into the wall and thrown around. So to be able to deal with that is not a sign of strength, but a sign of mental illness. And that strength can be put into a different area in your life that you could utilize. But to allow yourself to be beat up, it's a mental illness. And so we have to be able to effectively let individuals know when they're being abused. And this can only also come when an individual approaches you. So even if you are an individual in somebody's life who is a protector, you should only, in my opinion, step in when an individual approaches you. Because what happens is, when you're a protector, you try to protect someone, one of your loved ones or someone you care deeply about. You step in the middle of their relationship, and as we all know, we all are aware that a lot of times an individual who is in an abusive relationship isn't so easily removed. And so once you step in, for the moment it might be a band-aid, but the individual eventually will return back to this abusive relationship. So then it's almost like you've overstepped your bounds, because a lot of times that individual will also say that they didn't need your assistance. They could have handled it. They're in a position where they could have handled it themselves. And so then you kind of feel like, you overstepped your bounds, or I'm sure you're confused. And so a lot of times you can only really help an individual who comes to you for this help, for this assistance. And then, effectively you're able to do something. But we've also have to let individuals know when they might need some counseling of some sort. And then we also have to have resources in place for an individual to be able to leave an abusive relationship, because in today's time, an abuse order or a stay away order, and a lot of times isn't enough. So we've got to actually put resources in place for an individual who's being abused to be able to relocate. They need to be able to relocate. They need to be able to change their phone number. A lot of times they are in situations where you have an individual who, as I say, is not who is not able to be rehabilitated, who has a mental illness and will go beyond a stay away order. And it's not always that you're going to hear about this on the news where they kill somebody. I'm sure there's many instances where these orders are being, the lines are being crossed, and they're going against their stay away order, regardless of them getting locked up or put away or any consequences at all. And so we need to be able to also in the system in this day and time allow women who are being abused certain resources, like I say, to be able to get off the grid so that they can go about their lives without the threat of somebody following them around or meeting them at their jobs. You know, it's a different day and time. And so I just believe that we need to also put in place resources so that these abused individuals can start over and relocate. Job resources, housing resources, specifically for individuals who are being abused. And I also believe that in today's time, in the future, we'll start hearing about same gender abuse, because the abuse doesn't stop at a man abusing a woman. I also want to speak on the fact that men sometimes who aren't really women abusers can be trapped by women who have been in abusive relationships, and so that they think that toughness is aggressiveness, and so they will roughhouse with the man. They will swing on the man. They will try to fight the man. They will fight the man. They won't try to fight the man. And so some men who aren't necessarily women abusers are baited into becoming abusers due to the women that they're dealing with, kind of sort of toughening them up, so to speak. That's because that's kind of how it is a lot of times. A woman who has dealt with a tougher guy who may be into another type of life, they're used to this behavior. A lot of times, just as women who will deal with a man who resembles their father, they'll also deal with a man who resembles their brother. And a brother roughhoused with her, got her toughened up for if she were to deal with the man. And so a lot of times, women who have been groomed by their brothers to be able to withstand a man and his toughness and aggressiveness and fighting, you know, they're kind of like sharpening their tools when they get with the guy. You know, to keep and make sure that they're on their feet and that, you know, they are able to put forth the tools that their brother gave them. And so they enjoy this. And so you might find yourself with a woman who enjoys fighting. She enjoys the, I want to say abuse, but so to speak, it's abuse. And so you want to make sure that you distance yourself. You don't try to continue to prove a point and become a woman abuser, because it's going to be that one blow that she's not going to like. It might be too much for her, and she might feel like you cheated, and here come the police, and then you're getting locked up, and you become a domestic abuser, and this is not really the type of person that you are. And so there's just so many angles to domestic abuse. And that's for the person who can be rehabilitated. Because we also have to understand that there are a lot of females in today's society who like the rough house and who will run over a man if a man lets them, and they will toughen the guy up, and the guy might, it's misperceived as tough love, but abuse is abuse, and once it goes too far, it goes too far on both ends. And so another angle of it is a woman, you don't want to re-articulate a story just to get a man, just to get someone to take care of a man that you aren't able to take care of. Like, he may be verbally abusing you, and then you go and say that he's physically abusing you. And so, it's just bad on both sides, right? But the main objective, the main point of what I'm saying is for individuals to look within themselves and understand that abusing a female is not a sign of manhood. To get a female to get into you is not, you don't have to abuse her physically. You're not supposed to abuse her physically. This is not the way that a man gets a woman to love him, or to feel any type of way, or to get aboard his train and go on this journey through life with him. Intellect. You have to be able to communicate. You have to be able to do more. Women many times and often require intellect. It's not about how strong you are. That's for the outside world. That's not for the woman. That's for you to protect her against the outside world, other men. That's not for you to use that against her. And so, as men, some of us need to learn how to communicate effectively and understand that many times abuse also comes from finances. Fights over finances, money, a lack of money. As soon as a female says no, a man is ready to get violent or abusive. Physically, emotionally, verbally. And we have to understand that it's high time that a man pull up his pants and get back to caring for the household as a mature adult, and not depending on a female to care for a male, to pay a male's bills, to put a roof over a male's head, to put money in a male's pockets. It's high time that we do these things for ourselves, and then we take a lot of the stress of life out from ourselves when we are able to support ourselves. When we don't look forward to a female doing so much for us that we should be actually doing for ourselves. So we do ourselves an injustice when we can't take care of ourselves, and then we beat on a female because she's not doing enough in your eyes. We got to start to tackle this issue in a different way as well. These things aren't talked about amongst friends. A man doesn't beat on a female and go tell his buddies. A man doesn't beat on a female and go put it in the lyrics in a song. And so we've got to understand that, and so we can't act as if these things aren't happening. And it happens day after day, yearly, and during the holidays, like I said, it hits harder because no one wants to be abused during a holiday. And holidays are a time of love. And so, even after this holiday, we need to continue to get on this issue of domestic abuse and domestic violence. All right, guys. Again, you're not a man by abusing a female. That's less of a man. You don't get to a female by physically abusing her and making her physically adhere to anything or hear anything you're trying to say, any road you'd like to take her on, a path you'd like to lead her on. It doesn't start with physical abuse. It starts with communication and intellect. All right, guys. Motivational Life Global.